Over the years, I've noticed something curious. Most leadership advice is good advice. It just doesn't seem to last very long. Leaders are told to delegate more, communicate more clearly, or set better boundaries and have the difficult conversation. They often leave the leadership workshop or the leadership conversation energized. Maybe they even see immediate progress, but 6 months later, many of them find themselves right back in the same old patterns. That observation led me to ask a different question. What if the behavior isn't actually the problem? What if the behavior is simply the symptom of something happening deeper? That's the question that changed not only how I coach leaders, that's the question that changed how I understand leadership itself. At Conjunction Leadership, we've built our work around three words: belief, biology, and behavior. Let's start with behavior because it's the part that everybody can see. It's whether you micromanage or you avoid conflict, or whether you work too many hours or jump in with the answer, whether you struggle to delegate or take on more than you should. Behavior is what your team experiences every day. Most leadership development begins there, but we don't. Instead, we ask a different question. What belief is driving that behavior? Maybe somewhere along the way, you came to believe that if I don't have the answer, I'm going to lose all credibility. Or maybe you came to believe that if I don't stay involved, it's not going to get done right. Most leaders don't consciously choose those beliefs. They simply become the rules they've lived by for so long that now they begin to behave like they're the facts. But belief is only part of the story. There's also biology. This is where many accomplished leaders finally begin to understand why they react the way they do. Think about the last time someone challenged your thinking in a meeting. Before you consciously decided to respond, your body had already started reacting. Your breathing changed, your shoulders tightened, your heart rate increased, and maybe your jaw even clenched. Your voice became sharper, or maybe you became unusually quiet. That isn't a character flaw, it's simple physiology. Your nervous system responding to a perceived threat exactly the way that it learned to years ago, long before your thinking brain fully caught up. When belief and biology come together, well, yeah, behavior almost always becomes inevitable. That's why we look at all three: belief, biology, and behavior. Over the years, I found that senior leaders tend to get caught in six recurring beliefs. I have to have the answer. If I don't touch it, it won't be done right. Uncertainty is almost certainly weakness. Pushback means you're losing ground. Rest has to be earned. And perhaps the most common one, it's my responsibility as the leader to carry what other people can't. Different industries, different personalities, but yet remarkably similar patterns. Now, think about why so many leadership programs struggle to create lasting change. Imagine someone coaches you to delegate more. You leave that event so committed to doing exactly that. And for a while, it works. Then the quarter starts slipping. The customer escalates an issue. The board starts asking harder questions, and pressure rises. And almost without realizing it, you find yourself pulling back into that work and putting it back onto your own plate. Not because coaching was wrong, and not because you lacked discipline, and not because the coaching focused on the wrong thing. It was just simply focused on behavior. The belief was never studied, the biology was never settled. So, under pressure, your system naturally returned to the pattern that had protected it for years. That's why our work is so different. When the belief begins to shift and your nervous system no longer experiences those moments as threats, well, then, and only then, the behavior changes almost as a byproduct. You're no longer trying to remember what your coach told you to do. You're simply responding differently because you've become different. People often ask how this differs from executive coaching, leadership training, or other peer groups. Well, the simple answer is this: most leadership development focuses on what you do. We focus on who you are when pressure arrives. Our work is grounded in psychology, neuroscience, human development, and physiology because leadership doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens through a human being, someone with a story, someone with a nervous system, someone with patterns that have been shaped over decades, designed to protect you and keep you safe. And because no two leaders have the same story, there isn't a standard curriculum. Every coaching journey is built around the person, not the program. If someone asked you what conjunction leadership does in one sentence, I hope it would sound something like this. We help leaders change their beliefs and their biology driving their behavior so that leadership changes from the inside out. In the next video, I'll show you what happens when that shift begins to take hold, and we'll look at what leadership feels like when you're no longer being driven by those old patterns and why the impact reaches far beyond the workplace. I'm Jim Bishop. Thanks for being here.